Welcome so much. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Alice Bull and I run the Scrap Happy membership group, and we are doing a special series here on YouTube during the month of April where it is called Happy at Home. We're going to hang out together, spend a little bit of time together, and just hopefully make this time with our creativity feel a little happier at home. So that is the plan. I'm saying hello to some of my friends that I see here already. And today we are going to be talking about watercolor. It is one of my favorite things to do with my scrapbooks, and hopefully today you'll be inspired by some of the stuff that we do. I think that for many people, watercolor feels rather intimidating, but it can be, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be scary at all. It can just be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk about different ways that you can add watercolor to your projects, just in case you are not having all of the watercolor supplies yet. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do some coloring. So let's get underway here today. First off, now I think my screen setup is a little different today. I tried to get this fixed, but I don't know how that's gonna work. Does it look really little to you that this part here looks really small? Because it looks small to me, and I think it's gonna look small to you. Can you just put yes, it's small in the comments for me? I don't know that I can make it bigger. It's just not letting me. I'm so frustrated by that, but yeah, maybe what I can do is do a split screen and set that one up. So yeah, but anyways, we'll work with what we got. Yes, this little, hey, I was hoping that potentially it was just on my side. So Mickey says she's watching on her PC. Okay, well, thanks for letting me know. I'll have to see, like, something must have reset since last week because it worked just fine. And now it is being difficult. But what we'll do is we'll set this up so that it will be better for the next time. I'm hoping that there's just a small little glitch in the system. Even when I go like this, it wants to be small, so that doesn't make it better. That makes it worse, so we will not do that. Hello, Karen, Danelle. I see Vicky. I saw Amy. We got lots of friends in the house. Deidre was here. First off, since we're going to talk about watercolor today, I thought we would talk first about the watercolor paper that I've been using for quite some time and I really like. And that is this watercolor paper from Prima. It's 12 by 12. It's sold in a packet of 12 by 12 paper. There's only one catch. It is not that easy to take out of the package. That might seem like the craziest problem to have, but I've definitely tore some of my paper trying to take it out of here. So I'll just show you as I take a piece out what I've done to get it out. And if you know better tricks, then yeah, at school, Debbie, at school, she says, where's Joe when we need him? I know. So the reason that this is a little bit of a pain is that there's gummy stuff here and there's gummy stuff here holding it together. And it can be tough when you're separating out the sheets to get them removed without breaking them. So I just take this, technically it's like a Cricut spatula, and I just use that to remove my paper from here. And that seems to work really good for me, but I guess it's not the most technical way. And then you can just peel like the little gummy bit that's there. So if somebody knows a cooler way than that, then let me know. This is all about discovering great tips, and hopefully this great tip will be good. Maybe what we can do, since it's so little, is I can bring it down a little bit more. You'll get a little more shadow on it, I think, but we'll bring it down so it's a little bit closer. Okay, so there are a lot of different types of watercolor paper. I am not a watercolor expert. I am a scrapbooker that dabbles with watercolor. So just to get this straight, I don't want you thinking, oh, Alice knows everything about watercolor. No, that's not how it goes. I like to play with lots of different things because I think that they're really fun. Oh, we've got like someone here from the Netherlands. Hello, Ria from the Netherlands. Jackie says, thank you. That was going to be my first question. How to get the double glued paper out. So that's my trick. It's kind of a really thin, sharpish kind of edge to this one. It's very nice for getting your letters off of the mat when you're using your Cricut or something. But when I got rid of my Cricut, I kept this. I'm like, I'm not giving that away. I use it for too many other things. I use it as a spatula for paint and stuff. It's usually covered in something. Okay, so watercolor paper, we have it. If you don't have this kind, you don't need it. There's a lot of stuff you can do with watercolor paper. That's kind of any paper, right? Like this is from Walmart, I think. I think this one actually I got from the local store, and like it's like the local stationery store, and so they charge me an arm and a leg for it. It's like $12 or something for 12 sheets. But usually it's, and then maybe have a strip of pattern paper or different cardstock underneath. So I think it's like the closest thing. So Christy, I know that you're here, and I know that you also use eCam. So if you know why my camera is not letting me go full size, fill me in. Fill me in, because it's been really good. Karen says Strathmore is a good brand. Karen knows watercolor. So Karen Poirier Brody, thank you for being here and sharing your expertise with us. So I have done lots of playful stuff. I think when we start with watercolor, we judge ourselves really harshly. And then I think what we need to do is just give ourselves room to play. And so I'm just going to show you some of the things that I've done to play. So we've got a little flower with a background. Like the flower here, the flower is horrible. It's just not very good, but I think I did great on my background. So I've kind of hung on to some of these things. Here I was sketching a picture from a photograph. Here I just played with color. Here I tried making some flowers. This is one where I actually used a masking technique to leave the flowers, and then you peel the stuff off after. I didn't like the way it tore the paper, so that's not one of my favorite techniques, but I wouldn't have known until I tried it. Here I watercolored some little flowers, and one of my favorite things to do is to look on Pinterest, find a watercolor flower or something, and then try to recreate it and kind of see how did they play with that. More water lily stuff. So the flower itself, not exactly the greatest, but that background, I think it looks cool. So, playing with more flowers. Flowers are just easy to experiment with. And some, as you see, some things turn out better than others. So I am quite happy with the experimentation part of watercoloring and just trying to see how to get some of the effects. Oh, here's a scrap of my paper that I didn't use. So here you're going to see experimentation with trying to blend colors. This is when I have oversaturated paper, and you can kind of see they're super blended, but this paper got like really wet, and it's almost to the point of losing your quality of your paper. That's okay. This was me trying to paint. I did this one when I was in my camper, and I tried to paint some flowers. Turns out I'm not the greatest with my flowers, but you can see I tried to get some shading, and I think the vase itself looks really nice. So it's a matter of, you know, maybe these weren't a win and they look really terrible, but this part here, you know, I was learning, and it's all about that light and the shadow. So kind of fun. I'll just show you a few more things that I've played with. Playing with watercolor backgrounds, things that I use for different reasons. Blending the colors, doing more color blending, doing a faded watercolor. This one was for a background for a layout. So as you can see, playing is part of the fun, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to play, and we're going to look at some different ways that we can watercolor. I'm just going to stack these all up, and let's see. Yeah, it is lovely that way seeing all the difference. Yeah, the vase looks great. April says you don't learn without doing. It's never a loss experience, and learning moves you forward. And I will say, like, I think that's really pretty. And it taught me about different color blending. And when I was meeting the different colors, I could see, like, okay, these are going to work. This is definitely not going to work in the middle. But by playing and experimenting, that's what I'm learning as I create. Okay. I think one of the easiest, funnest ways to play with your watercolor is, I'm going to go grab another pack, actually. Okay, I'm gonna grab another packet because I took that one paper out, but I want to actually have some smaller ones so I can show some of the things. So we're gonna take this one. This is a Fabriano watercolor. It's 11 by 14. So if I wanted, I could cut this and have almost that 12-inch, right? It would be 11 by 12 if I cut it down. But we'll take this and we're going to play with color. So I like to have two colors, two pots available. This one has lots of water in it, and this one will have some water in it. Because I like to have one that's like actually clean and one that I can muck around in. I'm also going to bring my mat here because you're going to see me muck around on the mat from time to time as I custom blend some things. So I think when you have the goal of using watercolors, Alice, there's an answer to your question. Check the camera effects window and check the zoom and pan. Okay, so camera, I see camera. I don't see camera effects. Like, I'm good at this. Oh, there I found it. Okay, camera effects, zoom and pan. Let's, oh, it's trying to do the wrong one. What if I go back to this scene and then I try this? Now it wants to zoom and pan the wrong one. Oh, because I'm on the wrong camera. Okay. Ah, Christy, thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that is so much better. And can I go back to this one? No, it still wants to do that thing, but it will let me fix it right here. Fantastic. I'm so glad you showed up and that you were able to fix it. And thank you for letting me know that she had answered. You guys are awesome. That's perfect. So much better. And like, I learned something new today. That's what we're here to do. Learn new things. Okay. Well, let's talk about brushes for a second. I don't know anything technical about brushes, but these are two of the ones that I've got in a kit from close to my heart ages ago. I wash my brushes out. I use them over and over. I use this one when I'm applying a lot of different stuff. I think this one's a flat one because this part here is flat. I think that's what Misty taught me. And that this one's round because this is round. You'll notice this one kind of has a really flat, blunt cut to it. This one kind of has a rounded tip. Those are all interesting things, but it really matters how I apply, like how much paint I'm trying to apply. So that's really all the technical stuff. Some of them have numbers on them. These ones don't even have numbers, and it just doesn't matter. If I was doing like really technical painting, that might matter for that, but I'm not. So I do have some different paint palettes that I like to play with. And like this was one of the first ones that I actually had, and it's from close to my heart. They still have the same colors, and I have to say, like, some of these colors could be a little bit better here, but their blue-green range I love so much. So I've created some beautiful projects, especially in this blue-green range, using these. And I've used them a fair bit, and I still have a lot of use to them. And you can see, like, my palette is like a little beat up over time. But I did learn one cool thing that has really helped me. I had it here. The kid borrowed it. Ah, there it is. My kid was like, "Mom, do you have a water bottle, a spray bottle?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you need it for?" So let's fill it back up. When I'm using my little paint palettes, like these ones from close to my heart, I like to spray them to get them wet so that I can play with them. Okay, so I'm just gonna take that lid off there because it's not gonna stay put anyways. And I'm gonna spray them because once they're all a little bit wet, they're just gonna be easier for me to use. So that's the plan there. And yeah, now I can back this up just a little bit so we can see this a little bit better. So depending on what you want to create, I think one of the most fun effects that you can do with watercolor, and as you're getting started, it's just making like kind of like an ombre, but let's just say a gradient. Let's just say gradient, because I think a gradient is more like one color. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's all good. So I'm just going to take some of my water, my clean water, and I'm just going to pre-paint the paper with it. And I'm just going to do this little section right here. So you can see that it's a little wet there, right? If you see the glint of there. And then I'm gonna just take some of this really nice blue here, just muck it up a little bit, and I'm just gonna do a little bit of painting it down. And as it goes down, because I haven't added more color, it gets lighter. And if I want this part to be darker, go back and add a little darker, and then just blend it down into the lighter. And so you can make like this beautiful little gradient color with paint that's like that easy, and that dries and it is so pretty. Like say you need to make like sky paper for the background or something. Oh, Misty, I'm so glad that you're here. She's like, I spy watercolor. I know. And I love doing backgrounds like this. My next favorite thing to do is I'll make this my mucky water. My next favorite thing to do is to blend a couple colors together to make a gradient like this. So more like a ombre. I don't know. Fill me in. What's the difference between ombre and gradient? I literally don't know. So I'm just gonna throw my water on here. I am not teaching all techniques. I'm teaching the ones that I actually use on a regular basis. That's kind of what we're going for. Okay, so there we've got my water area prepped. Now I think I'd like to take this from a blue to a green, right? Because that could be a really nice transition, especially if you're doing like a water page or something. So I'm gonna start with my same blue that I started with before, and I'm gonna work this down. And then I'm going to actually bring in another shade of blue to bring more colors into it. Oh, I did it in the wrong color because that's what I do. And then I'm gonna want to have like a deeper green down here. And then I'm gonna try some of this other green in here because it's a good one to kind of start blending into the blue. And as I blend them together and keep working on some of this stuff, like I want to add a little more dark in there. And I think that just like that gentle little smoosh of each color into the next just creates such a beautiful soft effect that ends up looking so beautiful when you do it on a big scale for a scrapbook page. So I'm going to show you an example of that really quick. Okay, we'll set this up there, and I'm going to show you this layout right here. So this is one that I did with, you know, it's like purples into pinks, right? So I've done it going from dark to light, and then it also is like some purpley colors more into the pinky colors. Okay, so we've got some people that know stuff and are searching stuff for us, so that's good. So Misty said, I think like you said, ombre is one color fading out and gradient is blending things together. Lynette says, I think gradient is all the same basic color and ombre is more blending into different colors. Ombre is definitely different colors, says Vicky. So there we go. Like we're figuring this out together. Thank you for your help. This is so extra fun when we figure stuff out together. That's kind of the whole goal of these sessions, is to have like inspiration. And oh, here, Karen's stepping in. I feel that she's kind of an expert here. Karen says, ombre is the same color. Gradient is transitions. Okay, cool. So will I remember that for next time? That's the question, right? That's the question. But I think this is super fun. I wanted to play with the colors of my jacket and my scarf that I had. And I stood in front of this super fun background. It was in the Calgary airport when I was heading off to Creativation, I think. And it's so funny that, you know, I am a person with a purple coat because as a teenager, I hated the color purple, like with a passion. But this was just fun. And just by keeping myself within this border, I've created a border, a nice white border around the page by not coloring right to the edges. Where you put the water becomes really relevant, right? What part of the paper you're wetting down. And then you can see I've just like worked the colors together to make it fairly smooth. Is it perfectly smooth? No. Lynette says, ombre is an adjective, having tones of color that shade into each other, graduating from light to dark. Oh, so I didn't even know that's like a light to dark kind of thing. Gradient, noun, a range of position-dependent colors usually used to fill a region that graduates smoothly. So like, is ombre a kind of a gradient or something? Like, I think that's a good question. Okay, so I'll move that out of the way, and then we'll talk about like mixing the colors next. So bring this back and we'll just talk about mixing colors, because some colors like to live together and some colors not so much. So I'm going to pull this back out. So you can see that when I was creating this, I'm kind of thinking like color wheel-ish, right? But I'm thinking this is going to be like a background of a layout or something. But as you can see, I'm going from my like reddish pink tones, more pink than red, more pinky tones, using some reddish oranges to the more yellowish oranges, to the yellows, to the greens, to the, I think, you know, aqua colors in the middle, into the blues, back into the purples. So I'm thinking of it a bit like a color wheel. But there are some colors that don't play nice. Going here from these orangey red tones to this blue in the middle, You think red and blue makes purple, right? They did not play nice maybe because it's too much orange. They did not play nice and make pretty colors in the middle. And I found this like as I've played with more of them. How's this for a vocabulary science art lesson on a Monday afternoon? Ombre is a type of linear monochromatic gradient. Lynette Cowherd, you are like fixing us up with all of our education today. So there's just different colors that don't play nice together. And I think as we play and experiment, when we find out these colors that don't play nice, that gives us the chance to avoid putting ourselves into those situations again. So as I want to play now, if I'm going to make some kind of color wheel, I'm going to create colors but not let them interact when there aren't colors that play nice together. So if I'm like creating something here, got a little bit of blue left in there, but I'll live. So now as I create my colors, when I go into this, you know, I'm going to make sure that as I set them up, I don't get too much cross contamination from the other colors that don't like those ones. I'll go into my pinks. I'll go into more shades of pinks. I'll go into my oranges. I'll go into my yellows. And like the colors that I'm getting between those oranges and the yellows and even the pink to the oranges are beautiful. And then I can head over and bring in some greens and some more greens and let them kind of just hang out and play. I think I need a little bit more of this green in here. But you can see right here where this pink is starting to bleed over to an area where I don't want it. This is wet, so I can just kind of pick it up and move it out, right? When it's wet, you can still adjust it and move it around. So that's a cool thing about watercolor. It might not be like perfectly gone, but you definitely have control over where you want things to be. And one thing I don't show you here is I always have a piece of paper towel so I can blot, and that just gives me a blotting spot. You know, we're doing a pretty rough entry circle, just playing with colors here, but as we progress this out, we're gonna head into my purples. And then make this beautiful color. So it's not exactly perfectly round because, you know, we're doing this on the fly, but overall, I think that's super beautiful. And it's like where the colors touch, because I don't have too much messy where they're touching down here, where the different colors that don't belong together, that don't play nice together, because I don't have too much of that happening there. That's gonna be so pretty. Like now imagine if I use a cool die cut and cut something out and put that onto my layout. It's gonna be so pretty. Complementary colors will produce mud, says Karen. Perfect. Okay, so should we look at that? For example, complementary colors will produce mud. So first ones I think of, because I saw them here, was that orange and blue. So let's create a little zone here for that and just kind of show what that, you know, how we get that look that we're not looking for, so that we don't do it by, you know, either on purpose or accident. I'm gonna pick a really nice orangey orange, because I think that's gonna give us the best chance to kind of really see it. Okay, so I've got my orangey orange, and we're gonna use blue. My boys, one of them loved orange, that's Ryan, and Joe, he loved blue. So This is a color combination that we've done lots with over the years at our house. But when we mix this orange and this blue, I will tell you, this color that it creates in the center, and I'll just add a little more extra color into here to really bring it out. We'll show you. It's not that pretty. It's not that pretty. Here, let's push it back over there. Okay. So it's not the ugliest thing ever, but it's not making a pretty color, right? It's definitely not blending the two. I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of that water that keeps spreading if I want to control it. And it's just not that pretty. It's making kind of like a muddy browny green kind of color, which, you know, depending on what you're trying to do, that's okay. Misty says another way to think of it is all three primary colors make mud. So orange is yellow and red, and then you add the blue, you get mud. So that's definitely one of the things. But I think that as we create these pages, like as we create with the stuff, it's about playing and making swampy green goo, says Lynette. Exactly, we made swampy green goo. Swampy green goo. Yeah, I love it. That's a perfect visualization. So I think that's like the basics on playing with our watercolor, right? Like that's the basics on playing with it. And this obviously is like a paint palette. It's not an expensive paint palette, guys. Like, what I looked recently, what were they, like less than $20 or something, like $20? Like, they're not an expensive paint palette at all, from close to my heart. And like I said, some of those colors I really like. When you want to step up your game and you're like, ooh, I should play with like nicer colors, I went out and I got this set, which is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi something or other. Gansai Tambai, I don't know. Kuretake, they're from Kuretake. And they are lovely and beautiful. You can pull the little palettes all out and take them to where you're working. So if you're using different ones in different ways, and they're all labeled, I created my own little paint swatch, and I did them a little bit dark and a little bit light so I could see the variation on each of the little squares so that I know what each one kind of will look like. But then of course you'll mix and match. I actually use my little cover part as a palette all the time, and so I'm mixing colors together to kind of get them to where I want them to go. But this was a great upgrade for me. I do the same thing. I spray the little palettes with the water. This one I thought was cool. This one's a 36. Pretty sure I have this listed on my favorites. If I don't, I can add it to my favorites. So if you go to scraphappy.org/faves, that's where you can find my my favorite products. I'm pretty sure this is listed there. If it's not, I'll go and I'll add it. So if someone wants to check, then you can see. But I think they're great. If you want their smaller sizes, this is the 36. You don't have to get a 36. I think it's 36. I didn't count. So, but yeah, they come in 12s, 18s, 24, 36. You can also get some that are shiny, like these ones down here actually have shine in them. They're metallics. You can get color from metallics. There's lots of fun ways that you can Gansai Tabby. That's the word we're looking for. I'm not making this up. There we go. There we go. I'm not making it up. That's really what it was. So that was my upgraded, like super cool. I tried working with liquid watercolors before, like the ones in the tube, right? That creamy stuff. And apparently I didn't know that you're generally supposed to let it dry so that it becomes a palette. And I just used up a ton of it. There you go. So Karen says, just for guidance for inexperienced folks, it's best to add a little water to dried watercolors before you start working so that they become watercolor before you start working. So spraying it is the right thing to do, or adding a little bit of water to it. You can drop it in there. You can do whatever. For me, that works. But let's talk now about different things that we can use as watercolor to do fun things, because I think that there are so many products that we have available to us that we don't always think of as watercolor, but they are, and they're great, and they give us different options, and sometimes you get different looks and different feels to them. So let's talk about those kind of things right now. This is my water that I'm drinking. One word of caution: if you normally drink out of a glass and you put your watercolor wash up water on your table, be careful not to drink it. You think, why would you ever do that? And then you're sitting there and it's in your hand and it's almost at your mouth and you're like, I can't believe that actually happened, but it totally happened. Okay, so first thing first, we're going to talk about these kinds of watercolor markers. So these are the Jane Davenport Mermaid markers, and these are Vicki Bouton's mixed media watercolor markers. Either way, they're watercolor. The cool thing about the two different lines that I have are you have a slightly different shade of palettes. I like them both. But one thing I'm going to show you right now, let's grab purple. Since I used to have a hate on purple, I use it more than ever now. One thing I'm going to show you is that if you take it straight out of the thing, it's like so rich and so colorful, and you're going to have a hard time like getting it to be light, because it's not. It's super pigmented and colorful. So if you want it to be lighter, then I usually squeeze a little bit of it onto my surface like this, and then I take my brush and I pick up my color from here and I'll apply that so that I can get some different colors, because this is super pigmented. And so as I've played with watercolor, you'll find different things. So as the paper dries, you'll get different effects in it. As the paper is more wet, it will spread out in different ways. When you're putting your wet stuff onto dry paper, it looks different than if you put your wet stuff onto wet paper. So there's a lot of different ways that you can play. Misty says she put her watercolor brush into her coffee mug one day. So yeah, keep the cup separated. And Karen says if you're using the tubed colors in palettes, you let them dry before you use them. Otherwise, they're too strong and way too expensive for that. So Karen says she's done that too. So it's a common problem. So it's like novice painters beware. This is a thing that happens. This is a thing that happens. So yeah, if you're doing some different colors onto your projects, I think that these watercolor markers are amazing. And if you want to add like a little extra dark into that, you can add that. You can, create your different effects, kind of give this a little, this is what Misty does. She gives this a little extra little help in getting started to help bleed it down the paper if she wants to add a little color, right? To get this flowing. Sometimes you just need to kind of show the tears where to go. So it's really fun playing and mucking around with different things. These things are lovely. They also come, so these are the Vicki Bouton ones, very pigmented. I'm just going to show you the difference in the purple that comes in this Jane Davenport set. So the darkest purple, like the only purple that's in this set, is such a different color, right? It's like mauvey kind of purple almost. And this one is called Jellyfish. I love the names of Jane Davenport stuff. Like, that girl is so adorable. If you're not familiar with Jane Davenport, look her up. She's a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart. But yeah, the color shades of the purples, way different. I found the rest of her colors to be more bright, but so I was kind of surprised at how light and pale that one was. Because here's like this aqua-y color, Byron Bay. So, different shades. And my little wipe up here. So yeah, those are different things. Obviously, because, oh, look at what I've got all over my hand. That's lovely. That's lovely. I don't know if it's it's leaking out the bottom of it a little bit. Maybe I didn't get the seal connected good. Well, I'm gonna have colorful fingers today. But those are two different kinds of Mermaid markers. What do these run? Like 20 some dollars or something like that. They're not too bad. Jacqueline Jones, she says the Gansai Tambi, an Amazon 48 color set for $50, 36 for 33. Yeah, and like they're pretty nice colors, like they're very nicely pigmented and stuff. So it's you know, it's a good one to get if you want to like feel like a real pro. Like when you're using these other little ones like this, you know, you kind of feel like a little kid because they're so much like what we played with when you're a little kid. Karen says it's a good idea to tape down a sheet of paper if you're working off of a gum down pad, as the water can cause the paper to buckle. Securing it down will help to prevent distortion. Super good tips. Super good tips. Yeah, what I found, because they're all stuck together, I was worried I was going to wreck the whole stack because, you know, my control of my water, maybe not the best thing ever. So, okay. Other things you can color with. Well, first, before we move on to that, let me show you this. Oh, I got that stuff everywhere on me. Look at how bad it is. Like, that's not good. That one is like, the seal has got something wrong with it. Okay, let's have a look at this though, because these ones are different. These are Jane Davenport, but this is the Shimmering Sky Collection. And I'm just gonna show you with a little bit of color here. Let's blend it out a little. These are shimmering. They actually have like a little bit of glitter and shine in them. So there's a little bit of sparkle in this. I'm gonna hold this up and see if you can see some of the sparkle in it. It is so pretty. Oh my gosh. Like right now, I'm just dying to play with these and make a full-on background. So we might do that after. Let me see, what time did we get? 2:44. Okay, I got to get to these other styles. We got to get to those first because I don't want to miss out. I think these are also fun ways. So, distress crayons. Vicki Boutin has art markers. They're similar to the distress crayons. These are from Ranger, Tim Holtz. So if you take the distress crayon, they look kind of like a wax crayon or something. A little bit thicker, more like a... They reminded me of paint pastel, but maybe not as gooey. Anyways, I'm going to just put a little scribble of the marker on here. Like direct to paper, it's not very pretty, right? But direct to paper and spread it out with a little color, with a little bit of water, you're still going to get that direct to paper look. But here's the fun. Take this. Did you see how easy that blended up on my paper? And now I have that color to work with, right? So a little bit of art crayon on the desk, mixes up perfectly. Now I have that little bit of color to work with. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So the art crayon direct to the paper, the art crayon once it's fully blended. And then you can do lots of other things with your distress crayons. They're not my favorite tool ever, but I think that for watercolor, when you're doing different effects, you know, if you have them in your stash, definitely play with them. Pretty much 100% of the time I do mixed media of any kind, I'm left with colorful fingers, says Mickey. This one has a leak, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at that and see if maybe I can disconnect it and reconnect it to see if I can prevent that problem from happening again, because that one should not have done this to my fingers. I've never had one do that before, but you know, it's not brand new either. It's not brand new. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is you can use different ink sources. So I'm just gonna open this up. These are a Zig marker. These are called Zig Clean Color Real Brush. It's from Kuretake, and they are super fine tipped. I'm just gonna pull out a little blue one right here. Super fine tipped. If you wanted to, here, let me just take this. This is a regular paper, like super fine tipped, and then you can do different brush techniques. So you want to do like fancy lettering, you can definitely do some fancy lettering with these brushes, but they're ultra soft tipped. So I'm just going to take some of this one and color it on my table. And then I'm going to take this and blend that. And now I have a little bit of watercolor. Now if I drew this directly onto this paper, it's not as bad as the art crayon, but you're also not necessarily, oh, this one blends out really good actually. So these ones blend out really nice. That was really good. So look how pretty. Oh, pretty. Oh, that's nice. So those pens blend out super nice. Some pens are just not designed for it, and some might have different bases. Like if you're using alcohol ink markers, probably not with your watercolor, right? That's not the thing. Mickey says, I'll admit it, my art crayons are in my purge pile. If you're not using them, I get it, but there might be ways of using them that you hadn't considered yet, right? So you bought them for a reason. Maybe you just haven't found the way that you really enjoy using that product. That could be the thing. Okay, so we talked about markers. The other thing that I love, and I'm making a mess, is ink. Right? We buy ink pads and stuff. So why don't we use our ink pads for more than just stamping? I think ink pads are often underutilized. Look, oh, that's such a pretty color. Gosh, these Concord and 9 ink pads seriously are my favorite. I love the colors. I love their whole palette. Ooh, I got a little splash of purple on here. Oh, that's super pretty. Mixing colors, I swear, there's some people that do that for a living. Tombow markers are also juicy enough to use for dragging out with water and having good color, says Christy. Mickey says, I remember seeing Vilna Furstenberg using gelatos and being so excited, and I realized I'm not Vilna. I know, it happens, right? It happens. Yeah, so having different options for color. Ooh, now let's just try another color with this. They have this lovely eggplant color. Let's try a little bit of their eggplant color. And just blend this one out too. Oh, so nice. It's like a purpley purple. That's the thing. I like that it's like a real purple. So lovely. Oh, okay. So those are just some different things that you can use to bring color, watercolor onto your products and projects. Okay, I'm going to show you my best tip for cleaning up stuff like this. I'm going to grab it really quick. Okay, this here is a little stone that is like super light. It's like a pumice or something like that. And I found it in a scrapbook store, and it's for cleaning up your fingers. When you're running your hands underneath the water and you scrub your fingers off with this, I couldn't believe what a good job it does. So at the end of this, I will go and try this out. But to see if I can clean up my messy fingers. If you're using it every single day and your hands are all super, super, you know, like soft from being like exfoliated, then it might not work as well. But I find that it works pretty good and gets off a lot of the mess that I create when I'm playing with mixed media stuff. So if you find one of these, and if you know what they're called, that would be great. Okay, let's set this aside. And let's create a fun background. We're going to use the sparkly papers because, you know, or the sparkly markers because sparkly is great. And I'm going to create the background. I took out that piece right in the beginning of my 12 by 12 paper. And this is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to use these colors. Now, these are Jane Davenport. So these ones are pretty much, and because this is called Shimmering Sky, see, this one has leaked too. I've got two that have leaked now. So I think I'm going to pass on using this one right now. I'll see if I can fix that later. Maybe that's the one I had grabbed. Oh, see, more color over my hands. This is not a good advertisement for that. A scrubby. I know, craft scrubby, something like that. So that is not a good advertisement for those if they're leaking. So we'll use these other ones that aren't broken, and hopefully that will be okay. I'm just gonna see if I can take just a little extra color off of my hands. So I just grabbed one that had ink all over it. Okay, so now we're gonna take my big brush, and I am going to kind of pick the area that I want to have colorful. And I'm leaving a bit of a line around here. And I'll tell you, like when you're getting water onto your paper and you're like, where did I get the water? It can be a bit of a challenge to kind of see where the water's at. That's okay. Now that I have put this pretty much where I want it to be, I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to put this directly to it. So this one is called Polar Lights, and I'm going to kind of ink it up and I'm going to put it straight to it. Oh, and because I did the water on there first, you can see how it's just feathering right out. It's so pretty. Just gonna add, I don't know. Oh, another pretty color. You can see it's a little bit too dry over here, so my colors aren't spreading. So. Just make sure that this top part is still wet. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this one. And this one is Aurora Australis. And if I'm saying it wrong, well, somebody can help me out. So I'm gonna get a little more up in here. Love the way they're blending in this section right here. Is this the one I used at the bottom? Yeah, this is the one I used at the bottom. Need a little more down in here. And then I think I'm just gonna go in and add water in a few spots and let the paint do the running. And especially in here where the colors can blend. And then I'm just gonna muck it a little. Okay, I think that's gonna be good. That's gonna be my background for today. Let's suck a little bit of that water off of there, right here. And I left like those little white spots that still appeared there because I think they were just super beautiful. And these colors that as they're blending right in here, and I could see the shimmer going everywhere. Oh, here, can I bring you down to see the shimmer? I don't know if you can see the shimmer just like sliding around in there. I can't wait to see what that looks like when that dries. That's gonna be beautiful. So that is that is my background for today. These were 3 of the colors from that one pack. I wish I'd had the other one, but it is just a little too mucky. But I think it would have been good to have that 4th color. It's like in the blue kind of zone, and that could have come on up here or maybe down at the bottom still. But I think this is going to be pretty, so we will let it be beautiful as it is. Okay, let's have a look here and let's bring us back to right here. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me for this watercolor exploration today. I'm hoping that, you know, some of these products, like whatever they are, you're like looking at them and saying, I haven't done watercolor with that before. Maybe I'll like it. I definitely will. So Chrissy says, can you show it tomorrow when it's dry? Absolutely. And actually, speaking of that, I have a layout I wanted to show. I'm actually going to grab another piece of paper towel just so I don't get... Oh no, it's in a plastic. It's all good. So on a Friday, when we were talking about crazy, fun, exciting, creative ways that you can play with, you know, getting a little playful with your scrapbooking, this was a page that I had mentioned that I couldn't find, and I don't think I shared it on that day. Did I share it on Friday? I don't think I did. So this is my button page. I think that it's super fun, really playful, and you know, it's not a page I would do all the time, but I'm happy that I did it one time, right? It was a really fun adventure. And for me, scrapbooking should be about the fun adventures that we can have when we're playing, when we want to kind of get ourselves out of our little creative rut. Sometimes, you know, it's just not feeling fun anymore. And hopefully these happy at home sessions will help you change that narrative. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like more information about some of the products that you'll have seen here, I have a bunch of them linked on my faves page, so you can go and check that out at scraphappy.org/faves. You can also sign up for my newsletter if you don't get that yet. It is scraphappy.org/subscribe, and then you'll get notified of the different fun things that we have going on. Trust me, I'm not a spammer. I don't have time to write the emails for it, so that is not a concern. And I just wanted to say you can connect with me on Instagram at Alice Bowl, or you can just find me at Scrap Happy. So thank you so much for joining me today. I love spending time with you and sharing some of the creativity and the things that inspire me. So hopefully it inspires you too. So hopefully this will make you a little happier at home. Okay, bye everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. We're back at the same time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We are talking Nouveau tomorrow, and we will have a special guest. So watch for that tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Bye.